Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings, salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, a weekly show where we introduce you to some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ron of And I Quote channel, and our guest on this week's episode is indie writer extraordinaire Anson Joaquin is in the building, and he's on brand today by wearing a shirt that has the cover of his book on it. Hello, Anson. How are you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You're quite welcome, Anson. We're happy that you're here. We're also happy that you are here, who may be watching and listening to this program right now. So do not forget to like and share. If you're watching us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing so. If you have any questions for our guest of honor, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to take those as they come in respectively. With all that being said, Anson, what would you say were some of your favorite books or writers growing up as a youngling or a Jedi Padawan?
Sure. Well, I learned to read by my mom, with her finger going across the page of Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and Terry Brooks. So those will always hold a special place in my heart. And when I was a kid, reading the Rift War Saga by Feist, and my favorite books probably the King Killer trilogy. That's only 2 books so far. I really love that. But kind of wide ranging. Heinlein was a big influence on me. So pretty much all of his work.
All right. Cool stuff. What would you say were some of your favorite TV series, past or present?
Oh gosh, in these genres, Buffy. I was a little bit late to get on the train, but loved that, and Firefly, loved that. The reboot of Battlestar Galactica, at least the first couple seasons anyway, and the movie Cabin in the Woods. Staying on the Joss Whedon train a little bit, but those were some that leaped to mind.
All right, a little bit of the, and also Hemsworth was in Cabin in the Woods, if I'm not mistaken, along with Anna Hutchinson. I want to say, who was best. One of her roles she was known for at the time was not only Spartacus, Blood and Sand, I think it was, but she also was it Power Rangers: Jungle Fury? Sorry, I'm a '90s kid, so I remember certain properties, and Power Rangers is one of the things that stands out in my head. I'm sorry, just one of those things. But what time is it? It's Morphin time. But anyway, on the flip side of that, though, what would you say are some of your favorite movies, past or present?
Well, I mentioned Cabin in the Woods. My favorites, I really love Dune. The David Lynch version was my favorite movie for a long time. Aliens might be my favorite now. I like the new Dune as well, and the original Star Wars series. So when it came back to the theaters the first time, when it was re-released and remastered and all that, I really got into that. Was in the theater when Luke was, I wanted to go to Tashi Station to get some power converters, and the whole audience kind of laughed at him, and so. But I watch a lot of movies, or at least I used to back when I had time, and pretty much anything in fantasy or science fiction, I'll watch. I even watched the Wheel of Time trilogy, or the Wheel of Time series on Amazon. Was a little disappointed by it, but I still watched it, so I guess I'm pretty easy.
Oh yeah, I got nothing wrong with mentioning Star Wars. I know that makes me fantasy sci-fi. Nothing wrong with that genre at all. Great classics there. I mean, but here's the thing, Anson. You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done. Come on, kid, get to it. All right, come on. Sorry, I've seen the original trilogy. I mean, a lot of us have seen that original trilogy so many times. We could basically quote it back to you verbatim. You know what I mean? It's so good.
Sure. Yeah. The only movie I probably could have done that at one point was probably Holy Grail. I'm certain that I could and probably did to no one else's enjoyment quote that entire movie many times.
There you go. Nothing wrong with those movies either. Some good sense of humor being had in those films. Absolutely, for sure. When did you start writing?
I wrote in college and I guess high school and college. I wrote poetry and essays and things outside of class as well. And but I didn't really start writing for real until I always knew that I was going to. I was just sort of waiting for the perfect idea or the idea that I was really excited about. And then one day I had a dream that was very vivid. It was mostly visual, but dream of this guy who was on fire wielding an axe attacking demons in the real world. And when I woke up, I kind of wrote down everything I could remember about it and thought how did this come about? How did this situation come about? What's the story behind this? And that became the impetus to get serious about writing. And that was a whole education in and of itself. I sort of thought that I would be a good writer and that it would come easily. And that wasn't really the case. I mean, I was able to put stuff down on paper, but I don't know how good it was. And just sort of the act of rewriting and editing and accepting critical feedback and improving, and having a process to really figure out where you are and where you're going and how to get there was a learning curve, but was very important to make the progress that I have. I've got 2 books out now and I'm working on number 3.
Ooh. All right, good things come in threes, ladies and gentlemen. Just like Star Wars had a trilogy, this one's about to have a trilogy. So right on, right on, right on. Excellent. What would you say are some of the rewards about being a writer?
There is a great deal of satisfaction, and everyone, myself included, over the years, were like, oh, I feel like I'm going to write a book. I've got a book in me. I feel like I've got a couple books that I could write. And after a while, that sort of loses its interest for yourself and for everyone else who hears it. So figuring out something that's takes a lot of work is it feels good. And I think in the future, depending on, I guess, how we end up dealing with AI and generative AI, maybe that changes. I don't know. I'm curious to see how it's going to go. I imagine that there are going to be a lot of, quote unquote writers who are basically just, asking for, specific things from AI. And then is that the same act of writing? I mean, I don't think it's the same act. I don't want to judge, but it's not the same. And so the feeling of being done with it, completing your first book and having other people read it, strangers, friends, people you respect, and give you feedback. And then if the feedback is good, I mean, then you really appreciate it. You really feel good because it was a lot of work. So that's probably the best thing. At my first book signing, there was, I had a lot of friends and family show up, which is, that's good. Lucky for me that I have friendly people who are willing to support the book. But some strangers were there as well, and that was exciting and interesting. And there was even someone, I guess you might describe as a fangirl. I mean, she hadn't read the book yet. She just liked the cover and liked that I was a writer, and so that was cool. She and her mom came up, and she was too shy to talk, and so her mom talked for her, which is not something I'm used to. So that was fun.
That's really cool. It's really cool. Also fascinating as well. Opposite side of the fence, though, what would you say are some of the challenges about being a writer?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of challenges. I feel like it's surely it's a dying art, I guess. The challenge, my first challenge was just getting it done, was figuring out a process that was productive. I thought that I was a pantser versus a plotter. I thought that I would just sit down and sort of it would come to me in a stream of consciousness, and that is how the book started. But what I got was 10 or 15 pages of exposition and description of the world building, which was fun, but that's not a story. And so learning more about the craft of writing, in these genres, and what's overdone, and the level that you should aim for in terms of diction and realism, and trying to make sure that your voice comes out consistently, and that everything makes sense to everyone, not just you. That's just a problem I struggled with. I was like, well, I'm writing this for me. Well, okay, but if you want other people to read it, it really needs to be written for other people, primarily. You put yourself into it, of course, in every character and every thing that happens, but you really need to make it interesting to other people, and that's sort of becomes the main focus and goal, and just learning other elements of craft. I mean, there's so much, and there's so much that I still have to learn, but I feel like I've come a long way from when I started. So those are some of the challenges, and then you get done with that, you're like, wow, I just wrote a 100,000 word book, and revised it 15 times, and I'm feeling really good about it. I'm done. Well, you're not done. There are 2 million books published a year now or more, and all the self-published people have all the access to to distribution, and you have to figure out how to first get it published. Are you going to go traditional publishing route, or try to, in my case, or are you going to self-publish, and if so, how are you going to do that? What does it entail? How do you support it? And then how do you launch and market it? And those are sort of three different, writing, getting published, and launching the book, and then supporting it promotionally are three. I feel like there are three careers. I mean, I think that there's a lot of specialists who specialize in just one of those three things, and that makes a lot of sense, because there is a lot to all three of them. So learning, the learning curve, figuring out how to do all that stuff was a challenge. The fun, I mean, I enjoyed it. I have a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of research that I went through to get to that point, but it took a lot of time and effort to do it.
Wow, that's something I didn't know, is that 2 million books are published every year. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, the publishing industry has really changed a lot, and in science fiction and fantasy, don't quote me on that, but there's like 4 or 5 major publishers. There's been a lot of consolidation, a lot of companies going out of business, and they have a publishing schedule, and so they're going to publish X number of books a year, and times for those 4 or 5 major companies, and then so all of what you used to think of as publishing, that's going to be like 20 books out of 2 million. They're not all in the genre, of course, but it's just a minuscule percentage, and most of those slots are going to go to follow-up books of people who sold 1 million copies. And so if you're not one of those people, or you don't have some other angle, like you're a celebrity who is from a different field and is known, and you're going to write in this field, then you really have to have an angle that the publishing company really thinks is going to appeal to people and sell. So it's a huge challenge, but on the other hand, the technologies and services that are there now to support self-publishing are on par. I mean, my books are available in every bookstore, and and are as equal quality in terms of the design choices. I mean, that's just something you do through research and decisions, and in some cases money, to have a high quality, well published, well executed book. And you don't have to do that. Some people don't. They just kind of fire and forget, and some that works for some people. But I really wanted to have a professional book that I could hold in my hand and say, I'm proud of this, and this is great. And the same thing for the audiobook, which is actually my best selling format. I wanted a well-known performer for that, and so that costs money and took time to find that person and contact them and wait for their schedule to clear up and all that. So there's a lot to it, and it's a fun challenge, but it certainly is a lot of work.
Yeah, it's fair to say there's a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle. That is for certain. Also, you are watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote with Anson Joaquin, our guest of the week. Don't forget to like and share. If you're joining us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing so. If you have any questions, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. Any other pieces of advice you would offer to aspiring writers out there?
Not to be too negative, but I would say, don't do it unless you feel like you have to. Like I felt like I had to. I really wanted it my whole life, and even in an environment where it doesn't make economical sense, or it's unlikely to anyway. I mean, there are success stories. I mean, Matt Denneman, the Dungeon Crawler Carl, that was self-published. Travis Baldry's Legends and Lattes, that was self-published at first. So there are big success stories, and you can always hope for that, of course, but most of those 2 million books don't sell a lot, and so it's not a career choice unless you just are driven to it. And some people are, and they're born to be writers, and they always knew they were going to be. And to those people, I would say, do it. There's a lot to learn, but the best thing you can do for your career is to put a book out. Yeah, just keep doing that, and make sure the books are the best quality you can manage, and make sure that you're getting feedback and you're responding to that, and writing the best book you can. But just putting out books is really sets people apart from people who are just starting out, versus someone who's already written 4 or 5 or 6 books and has another series. And I think you get better all the time. I mean, if you care at all, and you are getting feedback and listening to it, I think you're going to get better the more you do it.
He's got a point. In the words of Morgan Freeman, he's right. By the way, the Renegade Bard is here. He says, writing is fun. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I really enjoy the writing. I enjoy the publishing stuff and even the marketing stuff to an extent, just figuring out how to do it. So I enjoy all of it. But the writing is sort of why you do it. The writing is sort of, and I guess from that perspective, if the writing is the most important thing, and you don't care so much about the reading, people reading you, then yeah, I mean, you're just free to write as much as you want, and it's easy to publish. It's easy to self-publish and get it out there and expose it to other people. It's the revision and the effort and the criticism and the fixing problems. That's where the work is. But the work is important if you want the best thing you can possibly write to be out there representing you.
Very true. Very true. It's why we pay Anson Joaquin the big bucks around here, folks. It's something I do want to share with you because you're wearing the T-shirt. It's a great marketing strategy, great branding. Let's talk about this for a second. So the Infernal Age Book 1 Demon Gate. What exactly is the Infernal Age, and how did this come about?
Yeah. So, as I touched on before, sort of the world building that sort of explained this dream sequence that I had. I mean, I like to describe it as sort of Stephen King's The Mist meets a very early prequel to the Elfstones of Shannara. So So a government experiment goes awry, and a hole is breached between, this dimension and another place anyway. And the rules of physics in that dimension impact ours, and technology fails. Most people get sick and die, and things start working a little bit differently, leading to the possibility that magic exists now. But in addition to that, these aliens come through that people start calling demons. So these demons come through this hole and start preying on this, on people mainly, but also other animals on Earth, and that's their new hunting grounds. And so we follow a group of characters who are have some information about what was going on at the base about the experiment. They've got a new particle that was introduced, and this might help explain it, and they want to share this data with the authors of the experiment who are at a facility in Long Beach, California. So they have to get from New Mexico to California without technology. So they get bikes, and so it's kind of a bit of a quest or a road trip. And the world is very changed. It's changed a lot very quickly. And it's, so their journey through the American Southwest is the path they follow. And and the characters, I try to introduce them and let the readers get to know the characters sort of before everything goes to hell, and then see how they start to change. Metamorphosis is one aspect that I explore in the book. One of the characters feels it feels a connection to the demons and begins to worry that perhaps he might be becoming one, or more like them. And the sort of powers that begin to pop up. He has a lot of these powers that they start to explore, but his other companions, some of them do as well. So it's their journey, but also it's sort of I like to think about the movie Kill Bill Volume 2. There's David Carradine has a monologue about Clark Kent versus Superman, and how Clark Kent is Superman's opinion of the human race, like this weak, pathetic, ineffectual, person is his disguise. He's Superman is his real identity. Clark Kent is his alter ego, and it's what he thinks of as humans. And I just the movie's great. I love the movie. I love Tarantino films, but that monologue just really stood out to me. I just was like, this is fantastic, and so I wanted to put kind of that sort of the interplay between the characters and in the book. And there's humor, there's science fiction, there's fantasy and horror elements. So it's kind of a mashup of a lot of things that I enjoy, that I've taken from my own imagination or other books and movies and things that I've really enjoyed.
Nothing wrong with putting a few ingredients together, make a nice book sandwich. Matching up the genres. By the way, I noticed on your background there's an axe. That axe looks similar to the one we see on the book cover. Did that have something to do with it?
Yeah. I wanted an axe that looked just like the book cover axe. This one doesn't quite cut it, literally and figuratively, but that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
All right. I like that, a little bit of symmetry there, or symbolism. I like that. I noticed there's some guitars behind you. Are you a guitar player, or are you just a fan of the music of the guitar in general?
Yeah, in college I was. I like to tell people I opened for Dave Matthews once, but that's not really true. I did open mic night. Was the last band to go up on open mic night on a Monday, and Dave Matthews played on Tuesday. So. But I was right before him in terms of no one was between us anyway. So I used to play it in college quite a bit, but no, not so much recently. I don't take them down off the wall very often.
Play a few strings.
Yeah, now I'm trying to get my kids into it. I've got a drum set out in the garage that my oldest child beats on from that, and my youngest, actually, my 4-year-old, likes to get out there and beat on the drums.
Oh, jeez. Oh boy, I get a 4-year-old on the drums. Something's bound to happen. I remember playing the snare drums when I was in elementary school, so those were some fun times. Back going as far back as that. By the way, the Renegade Bard dropping some questions and observations here. He says, as a writer who made his bones in the early days, I sometimes feel lost within the modern indie scene. And then he goes on to say, any advice to get my bearings?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, I think that the change has been, rapid and thorough. I mean, I think the publishing industry, has just completely transformed. So I've been doing this, the publishing part anyway, only the past couple of years. And, I followed, Travis Baldree, who is a, game developer and voice performer and now writer, and successful at all three of those things, a bit of a polymath. He published a blog called, Self-Published Book Launch A to Z on his blog, a blog post on his blog that sort of goes through step by step, how he published his book. And, he was a good writer, and I thought it was clear, and so I started building a spreadsheet based on all the things he recommended there and his advice, and then did a bunch of other research, and just sort of added things to the spreadsheet. So, I mean, that's probably the best advice. I mean, I don't know what your priorities are in terms of getting more and more books out, or getting the very best professional book out that you can. But there is a lot of research, a lot of advice. Don't pay for anything. There are so many scam artists, even before AI. Now it's just like you might as well not even read your email. Like, every author who's on Facebook gets 100 fairly well crafted offers for some kind of service a day, and you just it's just a deluge. And so it's like, you have to have this sense at the back of your head, is this something someone would someone who is a real business person would send to me, and so one of the dead giveaways is like, they think we all just want to, all authors just want to be flattered, and so there's like 4 paragraphs of how great your book is, and at the end, by the way, do you want me to market it for you for a fee? And perhaps it's too strong to call all those a scam. Perhaps some of them do actually do services and don't just take your money and run. But you can do all of the stuff yourself. You can do the advertising. I have a Facebook ad that I pay $5 a day or something to kind of keep that going currently, and you sort of see how many clicks you get, and you change the ad, or you do an ad on one of these. At one point I gave away 4,000 copies of my first book when I first launched, through a couple of different email services. So those are great ways to get your book into people's hands, and you just ask them to leave a review, and hopefully people like it, and it starts getting picked up. And when I launched book 2, book 1 outsold it 3-1. I mean, I think different people saw the advertisement for book 2 and were like, oh, that looks good, I should get book 1 first. So I think that thing, if you're writing a series anyway, I think that's just continue to release books, and make sure they're widely available. Amazon, of course, is the dominant platform, but some people don't want to buy on Amazon. And so, if you want your hard copy book in a bookstore, you need to be available through another publisher. And I use Ingram Spark, which is the self-publishing platform for Ingram, which is a major publisher. And so that's, you can go to Barnes and Noble or bookshop.org and your local bookstore, and you can order it. Getting them to stock it's another matter. They're going to stock it just like the major publishers publish. They're going to stock, a handful out of the thousands of people that are asking them to stock their book. And so that's a big part of it. There's so much information out there. It's really just about separating, what's real from what's fake. And actually, that is one, not to talk about AI again, but that's one good use of AI, is that in my experience, it's been pretty good about saying, this vendor is legitimate, that one is legitimate, but it's not worth anything to you or your career as a writer. So I just online research is really the best way, or getting advice from someone who's sort of been there, and knows sort of exactly can tell you exactly what you want to know in terms of specific questions. Having somebody's ear is really helpful. And if you don't have that, there's always the internet.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And we thank you for sharing that all with us. Hopefully that answered your question there, Renegade Bard. He goes on to say, I was one of the first to transition to traditional publishing, but I'm re-entering the indie scene after many years, at least in part. Still publishing traditionally too. So it's kind of riding the fence there, going both sides there. So all right, gotcha, man. Well, we wish you the best of luck with all that. And if you have any more questions for Anson, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We appreciate everybody who's tuned in, shared, or liked this video so far. Van Dyke quote. Any other special memories for you from being at book signings or other events, whether you're there as the vendor or the attendee there, Anson?
I think a big takeaway. I did an event recently called Authors Rock Roanoke, where authors from all over came to my hometown, Roanoke, Virginia, and to sell their stuff and to market themselves. And it was a cool event. I enjoyed it. My family came, and it was great, and all that. But the thing that really impressed me that I took away was that authors generally are really nice and willing to talk to you and joke with you, and it's a bit of a community, and I think they were doing that with the people who were coming to get signatures and things, but just a really great group, a really great community. So if you can find a community of writers in your town, people who are taking writing classes or anything like that, it's just a cool group of people, people who want to communicate with others, communicate with the world, want to tell their story and put it out there, and they're not afraid of looking dumb, so it's sort of self-selected to be a pretty fun group of people. It's a good community.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were from the state of Virginia. We're over here in the state of Maryland, so Del Marva, the triple threat of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, all up in this house. What's up? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, Maryland. I know that people can't drive well there. That's what Virginians think about Maryland people, as far as
Yeah, it's all right. I drive pretty well, so you don't have to worry about me being one of the negative side parts of that. But no, that's cool that you're in VA, man. We're up here in Maryland, so that's pretty cool. We're not too far away from each other. Hopefully, one of these days we can meet up at a convention or a book festival, something like that. We can hang out, talk some shop a little bit.
Yeah. Maryland's got an awesome Renaissance fair I went to once. I keep meaning to go back up there.
Oh yeah, yes, we do. We certainly have the Ren Fair. There's no, there's a lot of fun to be had at that event specifically, for sure. Who is an author, living or dead, you would love to have a conversation with?
Oh gosh, that's tough. Well, I would love to talk to Tolkien. I mean, but I feel like if you're given that option, you really ought to, I feel like you really ought to learn classic Greek or something and talk to someone who's truly had a momentous impact on modern society. But I would love to hear, talk to Tolkien about, creating his world, and he was a linguist, and academically and professionally, and so I sort of getting an intimate picture of how he created Elvish and how important that was to sort of his world building, and that would be interesting to me. And also people ask him all the time, was this an allegory for World War II? And he always said no. I'd be tempted to ask him that again. I don't know, but it's sort of that Patrick Rothfuss, like I said, I really love his work, like a lot of people do, and he seems, I have not watched his Twitch streams and things, but he seems like a very cool person, and very sort of very connected to the community of writers and fantasy fans and things. So I think that would be interesting as well.
All right. I mean, one does not simply have one conversation with Tolkien. So sorry, I just had to drop some Boromir on everybody because Sean Bean, can't go wrong. Just just throwing that out there. And good answer. What is one book or a series of books that belongs on everyone's bookshelf?
Well, gosh, yeah. Again, I would think, Well, I don't know. It depends on what they enjoy. I think there's, my wife reads primarily nonfiction, and I can't fault her for that. I mean, there's so much to learn about the world. And I think the easiest and fastest way to do that is through reading nonfiction. So, but in terms of one single series, I really like the Rift War saga. At least the first 4 books, I think, are terrific. at least I enjoyed them at the time. Maybe I should go back and reread them to see if they're still that good. I'm rereading to my daughter. I'm reading The Hero and the Crown and the Blue Sword. I just finished, and so it's so those are interesting to me. I thought they were so good when I was a kid, and I'm reading them to her now, and it's gosh, this author really seemed to go out of their way to bore children. Like, I wonder why I wasn't bored. Maybe I just had a long attention span or something as a kid, but but I guess gun to my head, I would probably just say the Kingles. I think that the Name of the Wind and A Wise Man's Fear are just spectacular yarns.
All right, I'm not familiar with these. I'll have to look these up. At some point. It sounds interesting, though. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if you like fantasy, if you
I
like,
do.
Well, if you like fantasy, I think it's terrific. It's serious. It's interesting. It doesn't feel derivative. It feels like a real, Horatio Alger's got this. It's inventive and literary. So I think it's well worth the investment. The big drawback is that it's a trilogy, and I'm not sure how many years it's been since book 2 was published. Now I know it's sort of a meme that everybody's waiting for Rothfuss to finish it, along with George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
So we still have to do that to get that last book out there, and I'm confident it'll be as good as the first 2.
Yeah, all right, something to look forward to. Absolutely, yeah. George R.R. Martin, was it taking like 85 years to write one book? I mean, come on, man. You're pushing 150 years old.
Yeah. I mean, maybe somebody else will have to finish it for him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's getting to a point where he may just have to pass the torch on to somebody else to continue on with writing his work, right? I mean, there are certain series out there where another writer takes over for another writer after they either passed away or the estate approved of this, or something like that. So,
yeah,
just get going, guys. Come on, we don't have all day here. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's his. He can do what he wants to with it. He knows everyone wants to read it, and it's got to be better, way better than the HBO series ending. So maybe it's a high bar, or maybe he's just not interested in it. They already kind of showed the ending he was thinking of, maybe. So maybe he's less motivation to finish it. I don't know, but
yeah,
I'll read it when it comes out either way.
Sure. I mean, I heard how disappointed people were and how the TV series known as Game of Thrones, aka the show where everybody dies in the end, kind of came to its conclusion. So, oh, gee whiz. Who knows? Just no more red or white weddings, guys. No more of that. But anywho, I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to Anson Joaquin for being our guest on this week's episode of And I Quote. Anson, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us, spend some time with us, and share with us about your story and your series and all that great stuff. If someone wants to know more about you or buy copies of your books, where can they follow you on social media?
Facebook is probably the one that I update the most. It's Anson Joaquin 1984, and so that's got pretty much all the recent stuff on it. A few other podcast appearances and things like that. Books are available through Amazon, Audible, and all major bookstores.
Excellent. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. We wish you the best of luck with everything you got going on and moving forward. So thank you so much for being here. We hope to have you back here again. You're more than welcome to come back. And if you want to be a part of the Writers Roundtable that we call the Writers Showcase, which is held once a month on a Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, let us know. We'll be more than happy to save you a seat for a future episode of the Writers Showcase. My name is Ryan. You can follow me across all forms of social media, simply at, and where am I pointing to? Where is it? At And I Quote channel. And that's where you can catch up on all our videos. We have a lot of great things coming your way very soon. So all the links have been posted, a lot of the links have been posted for those. So go ahead and check those out. Also, I want to take this opportunity to say we have reached over 2,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel known as And I Quote channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's been a part of this and getting us to this milestone. We are on our way to 5,000. We want to reach 5,000 before the end of the year of 2026. Help us do that by liking and sharing our videos and telling your friends about us, like Batman tells his friends. Would you tell all your friends about me? Just tell everybody you know and help us get to 5,000. Once we do, we'll have a live stream that will include returning favorites and some special giveaways that you, person who's watching or listening to this program right now are going to be eligible to win. Also, the seasons are changing, so we got hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, stickers you can add to your water bottles, coffee mugs, notebooks, stationery, all kinds of great things available in our Redbubble store. It's located in the link tree, which is in the description of this video down below, or also in our social media bios. So make sure you check those out. If you want to check out my short story, it's called Wolf of the West. It is a straight up Western, which is a part of the Western anthology Western Tales Volume 1, published by Veritas Entertainment. You can find it in paperback, hardcover, and ebook on Amazon, and you can also find it on the new website, veritasent.com. Make sure you check that out and check out all the wonderful writers, all the wonderful books that have been published through Veritas Entertainment. They are rising superstars in the indie publishing world, so definitely give them a follow on social media and check them out. Movie watch-alongs are on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and I Quote is normally on Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And the new show that's been blowing up the interwebs, The Shadow Council, which is our spoiler-heavy reviews of Maul's Shadow Lord, drop on Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a great round table of panelists that share their thoughts and feelings about Maul Shadow Lord and how great it is to be a Star Wars fan. So join us for that on Saturdays, 3 p.m. EST. That'll do it for us on this episode of And Quote. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when the videos go up or they go live. Remember, life is better when supporting indie creators from all over the world. Take a look.
Trellin of Ulia is a cursed man, and cursed men are dangerous. He has traveled the known world seeking a way to lift his curse. So far, he has not found what he is looking for. When Trellin arrives in the city of Anshi, in the nation of Paraba, he meets a cold reception. The desert nation is unforgiving. Its people have proven untrustworthy, and the locals have no love for foreigners. Now, a wealthy stranger offers to lift Trellin's curse for a price, and he must make a choice. Seek a solution elsewhere, or risk imprisonment in the Tower of Ruhak, a place from whence no man has ever escaped. The known world of Atera, The Prisoner of Ruhak Tower. Now available on Amazon in paperback and on Kindle.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.